creative instincts are allowed freedom, then they communicate some knowledge of greater decisions, greater dimensions to this most physically oriented portion of your personality. So this quote also touched me.
Hmm.
So you should not have any limited thoughts.
Yes,
You
yes.
should not have any limited thoughts.
It's like this, huh? You, it's like having a $1 billion,
Mm.
1 billion pounds, or 1 billion dirhams, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and we are worrying about, or rather, we are thinking about, um, how can I purchase, a small thing of 1 rupee.
Mm.
Do we need to when we have a $1 billion?
No, no,
So
no.
we are basically not recognizing
Mm.
what exactly we have, and it goes the same with our thoughts. So to think limitedly, probably we are not justifying that miraculous energy we all have in the way of our thoughts. So thinking in the most biggest way possible is the best way we can do for our thoughts and for the creation that a thought can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said, sir. Well said, sir.
So that's beautiful, Udayji, for sharing.
Yeah, and one more thing, like he says, like in the first chapter, he says, like we create everything. We create everything, every dimension you see, you create everything out of your own thought. But thing is, like after coming into this materialistic world, out of you people, like not we people, like we all of our people, we
Mhm.
generally tend to have affection towards all these materialistic things. So he said, like you have the or you have greatest and tremendous strength to create everything.
Yeah.
So everything you see is created out of your own thought.
Hmm.
So said in that way, but lot more to go. I started today only.
Yes, yes. We have some friends to share their thoughts. Yes, Mridulaji, would you like to share something?
Yeah, I wanted to share. You mentioned, both of you mentioned work. There is a thought, or that we all have a gift. Some of us may not know what it is. So when we do the job that we do is aligns with our gift that we have, then we feel in alignment with the divinity. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
So if we're doing something that isn't aligned with our gift and our divinity that we are, then we face some difficulties, and some people may even get fired or lose the job. But
Mm.
that's not a failure, really. That's just pushing us to our gift. Doesn't you know? So even if we're doing something we're not supposed to do, it doesn't feel right for us. When we move to something else, I don't want people to think that they have failed something or they have lost something. It's just the universe telling us to go in the right path where a gift is.
Yes, true.
So, many times in my life, I've changed jobs myself, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is such a hard time. Why is this happening to me? But it pushed me into something, 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 and here I am today.
Mm.
And even now, I may be pushed to somewhere else. But I always, in the past, I used to think, oh my gosh, did I do something wrong? Did I fail in this? Did I not do it right? In actuality, I don't think any of that matters, because eventually it's a journey. We're trying to get to what we feel aligned with, is my take on what all you all are talking about.
True, true.
And
Everything has only a good reason.
yeah, and I used to listen to Oprah's, Soul's Journey for many, many years. And she had many people, who are all the people that we talk about on her
Yeah.
show and talking about things, and they also, even her path, she got fired the
Mm.
first job she had, but did that change her? It just pushed her into something else that she's supposed to do.
Mm.
And now we know her the way it is, but we don't know that she got fired, her first news job.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter, as long as we are. Uh, I think the mistake is to stay when we know it's not correct, when we feel it in our soul that this is not correct.
Yeah.
So if the direction is to leave, or if our boss decides to let us go, or it's not anything bad happening to us. It just means that that's not our place.
Yeah.
And the journey is to find, we're moved forward, whether we move or the universe moves us, we're moved forward to find the place we're supposed to be.
Mhm,
I guess
mhm.
I wanted to say that, and
Very well said, Mridulaji. Yeah, true, true. Everything has its own right purpose why things happen in our life, and always it's for a better thing. So Binduji is writing that she read a quote recently: when we get what we want is universal gift, when we don't get, it's universal protection. Yes, beautiful, beautiful, Binduji. Thanks for sharing. And with these friends, let us dive into meditation. Such a nice way to start our session today, with wonderful thoughts and sharings. There is so much positivity, there is so much wisdom, so much energy in this moment, as it had always been. And now let us take into the now what we have just heard, that everything had only happened, that the universe is protecting us, and the universe is gifting us. What we term as a bad experience, what we see as a failure, is a great step, is a great experience for our own better and deeper and right way to evolve. Close your eyes, clasping your hands and crossing your legs, and be grateful. It's a nice, wonderful energy. The moment you think of being grateful, the whole body vibrates, the whole body resonates. Gratitude is such a high energy, is a creative energy, is an energy of everything. Be grateful for now that we are all sitting together and connecting to each one of us. We are all not in dislocated locations. We are all indeed connected in one web, like a spider web, like leaves of one plant. We're all sitting in different branches. We're all energetically connected. Feel that energy, feel that connectedness, feel that warmth. We are always protected. We are always well taken care of. And every time we become one with our breath, one with our normal, natural breath, we can experience these things. We are indeed experiencing these things every time we are with our own breath. So just be with your breath. You will have some nice music. The only thing we would need to do is to be with our breath. Music reminds us. Everything other than the breath is just reminding us to go back to one's own breath. Just be with your breath. Last 2 minutes, friends. Slowly bring back your awareness to your physical body. It was such a wonderful journey experiencing this connectedness with each one of us. Slowly bring back your awareness to your surroundings and to your physical body. Last 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Slowly place your hands over your eyes for a few seconds. When you're ready, you may open your eyes and take off your hands. Welcome back, friends. Hope you all had a wonderful journey. If anyone would like to share your experience, kindly unmute yourself and share. Or if you have any questions, no, Mradulaji, that was a recording. Really loved this. I really loved the music. That was so deep. Yes, true, true. Yes, Kavita ji.
Hi, Ram.
Hi.
I had very deep meditation. Finally, when we were about to end the meditation, I could see some visions where there was a huge waterfall, and underneath I could see Shiva, and the water flow was as it was getting intense. I could see Shiva growing and growing and growing, and then finally I could see Shiva disappearing. I could see clouds, plants, and waterfall. Then I could see Shiva, and I don't see any clouds, any plants, any waterfall. So that was a great experience. Thank you so much.
Beautiful, beautiful, Kavitaji. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. Thank you. Anyone else, friends?
Yeah, hello, Ram sir. It was a very beautiful meditation. Like towards the end, as just like as Mrudula ma'am said, towards the end, I felt deeply connected. So I saw Patriji beside me. So he's holding my hand and taking somewhere into the forest and somewhere, and he's guiding me just it's okay, everything will be okay. Just be cool and never during the beginning of meditation. I felt like not connecting. So so many thoughts arising in me. So then I thought to invite Patriji and Mahavatar Babaji. So immediately I saw Patriji beside me. So he was taking me somewhere and guiding me. So I felt like so peaceful at the end. So this was my experience, sir.
Very nice, Udayji. Wonderful. Yes, we can always take the support and guidance of masters, and they're always there to connect to us and really take care.
Yes, sir. And I have one more question. Why is it daily some days we experience very deep, intense meditation state, and some days we cannot experience. Why is it like that? Every day we cannot experience same meditation experience, right?
So look into the nature, and is
Yeah.
every day the same?
No, no, no. It's not the same.
And the nature is beautiful.
Yeah, of course.
So our meditation practice is also the same. Come what may, in the
Mm,
day in our meditation, in the end, just like nature, every day is different, and overall, the nature is always beautiful. So similarly, our journey is. So we just perceive our meditation by the way we experience. However, the total sum product always is beautiful.
Oh, that's great, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much for your sharing.
If we have thoughts, is that a bad
Mm.
meditation?
No, 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 it's not like that.
Yes.
But thing is previously when I used to meditate at the beginning, when I get thoughts, I was in a thinking you're getting thoughts, you need to suppress the thoughts, you need to suppress the thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. You just don't. You should not be suppressing them.
Mm.
You should just notice them, and you don't interact and entertain them. That's it. So we
Okay.
don't suppress them. Suppressing is again um, a fight. So you
Yeah.
just say thank you. When you notice a thought, you say, "Oh, thank you that I become aware that you are there." If it is something important, you just say, "I will address you again and
Yes.
thank you."
Okay.
So if we have thoughts, if we don't have thoughts, if we are here or if we had astral travel, all the sessions are equally adding up into our experiences in our journey. So
Yeah.
let's
Thank
enjoy that just like the nature.
yeah. Thank you very much. And I have one more question. Is it mandatory for each and everyone to know about their past births?
So is it mandatory to know the past
Yeah,
births?
yeah, past births,
No,
who
no,
where
no.
we came from, everyone.
It is not necessary.
It is not necessary, right?
It is not necessary. Okay. So
Okay.
when in our journey there is a need in order
Mm.
to have some glimpses,
Mm.
so that because it is needed, huh? Only then we have them and we see them. So it is not necessary for each one of us to experience them, to see them. I had a very curious, I was very curious, and I had temptations to know about my past life. It was, like watching a movie.
Yeah, even same, even same. I'm
Yeah,
curious, but
exactly. People speak about their
yeah,
past lives. I want to see, what did I do in the past? What was
yeah,
I?
yeah.
Maybe I was in Germany and I could probably remember my German language.
Mm.
But then I went also to a past life regression therapy.
Oh,
Not
okay.
work,
Oh,
because when it needs to happen, it will happen, and it happened when I really needed to understand certain things. Not because I wanted to see to understand. I
mm.
was just seeking some answers, and I could get the answers by the visions of one of my past lives. And it happened
Okay.
when I least expected.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So
That's true.
so it then I could really was grateful, and it just went on, and I never now have a desire to see my past lives. So it's tempting, when we hear experiences,
Yeah,
because we just wanted to know what did we do in our past lives.
yeah. Because like
Maybe not.
things what we did. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Things what we did in the past life may affect like may inflict this life, right? So
Mhm.
what we are experiencing right now in this present birth as a result of the our past deeds. So because of that curiosity, like I am also into that state.
Okay, okay. Well, you just when it is time, you will see, and when you don't see, it is not time.
Yeah.
You don't need to thrive, and just let the universe give your answers. Yeah.
Okay.
Mridulaji, would you like to add
Thank
something?
you.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, you guys are talking about past lives. I traveled, over the years. I try to go once a year around the time of my birthday just to see something new. So 2011, I went to Egypt, and I
Egypt.
felt like Egypt, yeah, to Cairo and
Wow, we were
Hurghada.
there at that time. We missed it then.
Yeah, that's what Madhu was saying. So I didn't know meditation then. It was soon after that I learned about this meditation. I mean, or maybe I just started, so I wasn't, completely into it like I am now. But yeah, would have been amazing to meet all of you, because I didn't go to the Great Pyramids. I went to Cairo. I
Mhm.
went to Hurghada. I went by myself, so they wouldn't take me to the places that were distant by myself. They were
Yeah.
afraid, because as a woman, they didn't want to risk my safety. But I did get to see the pyramids in Cairo, though. So, but the feeling I had the minute I landed, they were like tears. I never had that feeling before. I felt like I was home, like I came home. I'm
Yeah.
just so emotional even now, I don't understand the feeling with
Mhm.
Egypt. So when you mention past life, I wonder, I never went through past life regression or don't know, but I know that probably some point, if you know the past lives, I was in Egypt. I know that
Pretty
for
much
sure,
possible. Yeah.
because it felt like I was there before. I was home. It felt like I was home. I mean, I was born in India. India
Yes,
should feel like,
that's pretty much possible, Mridulaji.
yeah, and
I
India.
also feel.
Mhm.
Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Hello? Yeah, I was saying, whenever I used to travel to new countries, the moment I arrive, let's say lately with meditations, I realize there is some connection to that place, and either I know or I do not know. At the end of the trip, I realize something at the energy levels had changed. You know, so
Yeah.
for sure, it is always like that. And whenever we visit a place, there are a lot of things happening. Lot of things happening with our awareness. Sometimes, most of the times, without we being aware. And yes, we unlock and learn and we move. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in India. I left when I was 6. Whenever I go to India, I feel like a visitor. I don't feel that's my home. Like when I went to Egypt, it felt like home to me. And
Yeah.
actually, the people there kept asking me, they all, I went with the tour guide, so they all asked me they all started speaking Arab to me, and it was just a very surreal experience. And that's the only place that I felt that in all the years I've traveled before and after. So I
Yeah.
just had to share. Maybe, you were talking about past life. That's the only thing I can think of why it would feel like home. India should feel like my home, but
Hmm.
India doesn't. Do you know? I don't
Yeah.
understand. But just, our energy, there's some connections, like you're saying, when you travel to different countries you feel the connection. And maybe Germany was your home, in the past, if you feel so connected and you are there now, I don't know. But
Yeah.
you have to share with us when you're comfortable about you said you went through past life.
Yes. Yes. Sure, I will do. Sure, I
I'd
will
be
do.
curious to know what,
Yeah, I will. I
and
will
then
share with you.
maybe I'll feel like to do it. I don't know who does it, who
Well, I mean, I went for my past life regression therapy, but I could not see any of my past lives. So it did not
I,
work out because I was just curious, and I wanted to, I had been hearing about this, and I wanted to know what was I in my past lives. But then nothing worked out. I came home, and after a few years, I had certain deep questions within me, and suddenly in a night, I could see one of my past lives. So it just happened. Yes, for
I
sure.
think
I'll share
so.
this experience in the coming times, Mridulaji. Sure.
I think so. That reminds me, now I'm going to share an experience. I shared with Madhu. I don't think I ever shared publicly. So, but in the night, do we have time? Can I share?
Yes, yes.
So in the 90s, I was questioning about purpose, mostly about, God, like different religions. I was brought up as a Hindu. I grew up in a whole Christian community surrounding in rural Minnesota. And then I liked somebody that time that was devout Catholic. So I took courses for Christianity and I was just searching. I was in my 30s, I think, that time. So I was just, or late 20s, 30s. So one night, I don't know if I was sleeping. I know Chandra always says it's a different level of consciousness because I was aware of everything. So I don't know. I don't think I was sleeping. I'm not sure if it's a vision, but I left. I left my body and I went somewhere and I was part of everything. I was part of the planets. I was part of the earth. I was part of the human beings. I was even part of the ant. I could feel everything, all the energies of everything. And what it turned out is everything had the same energy. We think that the ant should have less energy than the human being, should have less than the planets or the sun. But it was scary because I was part of all that and I could feel all the energies. And now when then over the years, now I'm part of this, our family of meditation. And when I hear the things that people tell me, it just feels like, you know, I probably wouldn't have believed it if I didn't experience it myself. I was just like perplexed, and it took me years to figure out. It was scary. I thought I was dying. I thought I died. And how could I be part of everything, So, but it took many years later, and through meditation, I learned what happened. There was a family friend that time that says, told me that this is a thing that people who go into deep meditation want to experience that. She wished that I stayed there longer to find out why I was, I had that experience. To this day, I don't know. It never happened again. So, but it's something that you read about in books, but it actually happened to me. So I just wanted to share that. I never felt comfortable, but I do today after talking, hearing all your conversations, Rao.
Nice, Mridulaji. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Indeed, when we become more and more and more aware, what happens in our dream states really is marvelous, because too many things, or rather, many things happen in our sleep state, because that is where our mind is not there, and wonderful things are happening. We are just not aware of it. So, how many places we visit, how many people we meet, how many karmic stuff we work upon, a lot of things, lot of things, lot of things. So, thank you for sharing this, Mridulaji.
Yeah, I only came to know about astral traveling and, or going into a different sense of consciousness only the last few years since I started with the meditation group. I didn't even know those things existed. And like I said, if it didn't happen to me, reading it, I probably wouldn't have believed it. And I don't know. Hopefully one day I'll get to know why I had that experience. Um, that was almost 20 some, 23, 24 years ago.
Yeah,
So,
that's nice. Thank you. Thank you, Mridulaji. Anyone else, friends? Thank you, Sylvie, for sharing. It was peaceful, and music made me feel I was by the sea. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, friends. So we move to the next part. So we will have Madhu sharing the untold story of Sita. So over to you, Madhu.
Hello, friends. I hope you all had a beautiful session.
Yeah. Hello, Akka.
Hi, Ma. So, so I want you all to close your eyes while I'm reading this. Yesterday we have heard Mata Sita leaving to Ayodhya. Today we will get to know adjusting to Ayodhya. Mata had cautioned us that life in Ayodhya would be very different from Mithila and that it would take time to adjust. Everything is more formal here, she had said. We have to follow their customs and regulations. We will not be able to wander as freely as we have in Mithila. At first, we will be foreigners, but that will change over time. You will have each other, so you will be able to keep the feeling of Mithila alive in your hearts. You must never forget the freedom we had here. And someday, perhaps we can bring some of that freedom to the people of Ayodhya. That is my hope. Despite these words of caution, we were unprepared for what greeted us in Ayodhya. The city was much larger and grander than Mithila. Its wealth was on display everywhere. It was the capital of an expanding and prosperous kingdom. Guards and soldiers lined our route, evidence of the military might of the kingdom. It was more than a little intimidating. Elaborate ceremonies greeted us along the road to the palace, and when we arrived, we were astounded at its size. I had thought the palace in Mithila was grand, but it was nothing like that of Ayodhya. I wondered how we would ever find our way about, but we were not to have the freedom to roam the palace. We were assigned to rooms in the back of the palace, and our movements were limited to Sita's quarters. That was fine with us, as our only care was in serving her. We knew it would not be possible to integrate with the other servants. As we were putting away Mata's belongings, Soma turned to us and said, "We must not call Mata by that name when we are in the company of others. They will find that disrespectful." "What do we call our Mata then, if not Mata?" asked Usha. "We don't call her anything. I have noticed that the servants here do not address the family directly. But if we must address her, we simply call her Rani." "And when we are alone with her?" I asked. "When we are alone with her, we will be as we were in Mithila." She paused. "And I have noticed that the other servants here cast their eyes down when in the company of the family and do not speak until they are spoken to." Soma then added with a pained look on her face, "They are also not addressed by their name, but simply as servant." We looked at one another. "I don't think we will be in their company much, so I am sure this will not be a problem," I hurried to say. "I want to make sure that nothing we do or say in any way reflects poorly on Mithila. We must remember we are representing our Janak Baba and Sunainamma." Mata's days were busy with many functions, and it was only early in the morning during rest time after the noon meal, and then again late at the night that we had access to her. The meals were elaborate affairs, as the household consisted of many more people. We were not needed in the kitchen or to serve the meals. In Mithila, we each had served many different functions in the household, but here in Ayodhya, our duties were restricted to caring for Mata and Urmila's personal needs. I missed the intimacy of Mithila. I missed seeing Janak Baba and Sunaina Ma and the other servants with whom I had grown up. I missed seeing Mata throughout the day in one manner or another, hearing her laughter, which had filled the palace, and sharing stories of her various doings. The palace of the Raghu clan was a much more somber place. I wondered how Mata was faring in the new environment, but we had little occasion to ask. When we saw her, she seemed radiant, and on the few occasions that we saw her with Sriram, we could see the blossoming of their love. They both seemed engrossed in each other's presence, but Soma saw something else. One day, I asked her whether she had any notion of how Mata was adjusting to Ayodhya. Soma said, "There is a great joy for her here, but also unease. I can tell by her few remarks that she senses the disunity in the palace, and this causes her pain." "Disunity? What do you mean?" Maharaja Dasaratha and Mata had formed an instant bond, and his affection for her was known to all. Likewise, his three queens all doted on her. What disunity could she be referring to? "Do you not feel, Minakshi, something lacking here? A certain harmony that existed in Mithila, which I think was due to Janak Baba's nature. Here, the Maharaja seems torn between his wives, and although they put on the appearance of closeness, I sense something else. And if I sense it, no doubt Mata does as well. I hope she is able to heal whatever problems exist here." I grew thoughtful. I had heard certain backbiting among the servants, but Mata had warned us not to get involved in the household politics, so I had closed my ears to such talk. "We must remain above politics and gossips," she said. "After all, we are foreigners here. In Mithila, we don't have such divisions." "There is something else," continued Soma. "I feel that she is longing to touch the earth, to be with animals and plant life. She hasn't left the palace since we arrived. I'm sure she will soon call us with some plan. Soma was right. A few days later, as we were helping Mata take off and put away her ornaments, she turned to us and in a low voice asked us to meet her in her dressing room just before dawn. I have not yet met the river. We will slip out of the palace and go to meet her quietly before anyone stops us. Bring all we need for the puja. Rohana, Soma, and I arrived just before dawn and found Mata dressed like us, with her head cover hiding her hair and part of her face. No one would suspect who she was. We each had a tray of flowers and lights for the river goddess. Usha stayed behind to care for Urmila. Let us go by the back gate. There are fewer guards there, Sita said. So we crept down the hallway and stairs to the back gate, where we were stopped by two guards. Soma spoke. Rajkumari Sita has asked us to offer a puja to the river. We won't be gone long. They are the servants from Mithila, said the other guard. You can let them go. Once out of the palace, a sigh of relief came over all of us. We walked along the river until we found a secluded spot, and there we offered the river goddess flowers and candle lights while Mata chanted mantras and invocations. The first rays of dawn were approaching when Mata entered the water and quietly spoke to the river goddess. Before we knew it, Mata was submerged in the water. Coming up for the air, she called to us, laughing and splashing. Come, the river Devi wants to play with us. She is younger sister of Gangama and is very playful. Rohana and Soma slowly entered. Since the time of my near drowning, I had kept my distance from the river, not wanting to test my fate. Soma bobbed up and down, giggling. She told Mata how wonderful it was to be out in the open. Sarayu Devi knew I needed this time to be free of all formalities. That is why she called me here, Mata said. She called you Mata? Soma asked. Yes, for many nights I have heard her calling me. Just think, I have been here so many months and have not yet come to meet her properly. But I couldn't see how to slip away until the idea came to me last night. We did not stay too long by the river, just long enough for the sense of freedom and joy we had known in Mithila to return to us. As we re entered the palace, we found Sriram waiting by Mata's dressing room, a gentle smile on his face. Had I known you were longing for the river, I would have brought you there myself, he said to her. I know you are not accustomed to being so restricted. We will go to the forest soon. Mata indicated that she would not need us to help her dress, and so we three slipped away so they could be alone. In a few days' time, Soma accompanied Mata and Sriram to the forest. When they returned, she told us how Mata insisted on getting down from the chariot, taking off her shoes, and walking into the forest. It is not the same to go by chariot, she said. One must feel the earth. Soma waited by the chariot for them. They were gone hours, she said. I'm sure Mata was familiarizing herself with all the animal and plant life. But when they emerged from the forest, Mata was quiet, said Soma. Later, she told me of signs of human encroachment. A balance must be found, she said, between the growing needs of human beings and the other species. Without such a balance, the harmony that exists naturally will be destroyed. She's right, Soma mused. Mata ensured such a balance in Mithila. But here in Ayodhya, she does not have the same right to speak out. We looked at one another, understanding perfectly well what Soma was referring to. In Mithila, Mata's voice was second only to that of Janak Baba. Everyone respected her wisdom, but things were very different in Ayodhya, and life was far more complex. Here, many different opinions were expressed, and there were competing power centers. The spread of Aryan culture was prioritized at the expense of other species. but there were things that we did not know then. It was only on the night of her departure that Mata shared with us the underlying causes that led to that event, which, though dreaded by us, was welcomed by the rishis and sages who were at the forefront of spreading Aryan culture. How happy Mata is! I have never seen her more joyful, I expressed to Soma a few weeks after the visit to the forest. We had just returned one morning from helping Mata dress. There was not the hint of a smile on Soma's face. Rarely had I seen her so serious. Don't you agree? I asked. Her face softened and she nodded. I found her quietude disconcerting and so pressed her. Looking down, she replied, You see Mata's external expressions, Meenakshi, the face she shows to the world. I see what is taking place underneath the surface. What do you mean? I asked in alarm. Her joy is indeed bubbling over because that is the imprint she wants to leave when she departs from here. She wants to leave some of her joy in this house that will be overcome with sorrow. Depart? Sorrow? What on earth are you referring to, Soma? Have you not noticed the bitterness that has taken over Maharani Kaikeyi? Have you not seen her dark looks? I stared at Soma in confusion, dumbstruck by the implication of her words. Never mind, said Soma. Let us enjoy what time we have. What do you know, Soma, and who has told you? My voice was incredulous, but also harsh. Mata had warned us not to get involved with the gossip of the household servants, and Soma, of all people, was very attentive to these instructions. She hardly mingled. It could not be that she was susceptible to malicious talk. She looked away. For the first time ever, I saw tears gather in her eyes. Nothing could calm my thoughts that day. It was not until the evening when Soma and I went to put away Mata's ornaments and clothings. My mind was calmed by the joy that flowed from Mata. Even Soma seemed back to her normal self. That night in my small room, I reasoned that although Soma had special insight into Mata, had an inner connection to her that none of us could match or even understand. This time she was wrong. She was imagining something that didn't exist. I put it out of my mind. It was only a few days later that we learned that the kingdom of Ayodhya was about to be turned upside down, not from an external foe, but an internal one. Those few days were tumultuous. The Maharaja had taken ill. It was his heart, they said. As much as Mata tried to help him with medicinal plants, his strength did not return. Then there was a talk of his decision to coronate Ram right away. The auspicious day and hour were approaching when suddenly everything turned. Maharani Kaikeyi's mind had been twisted by her servant, a bitter and manipulative woman, and a long dormant jealousy and anger emerged in the queen. Years earlier, Kaikeyi had saved the Maharaja's life in battle, and he promised to fulfill two wishes whenever she requested. Now she asked him to honor the commitment made long ago. When he asked what the two wishes were, thinking them to be desires he could easily fulfill, she requested that he coronate her son Bharat instead of Ram. Although Ram was the eldest and Ram was to be exiled for 14 years, we servants heard rumblings of this turn of events. But it was not until Mata called us to her that we understood what was in store. She was departing with him. She stood before us and said, Ram has agreed to go into exile, and since there is no possibility of a separation, I will go as well. Then she added in a most gentle voice, Where Ram is, there is Sita, and where Sita is, there is Ram. She waited for this news to sink in. We were speechless. I'm not sure if we displayed any emotion, as we could not quite fathom the meaning of what she was saying. She looked at us intently and continued, I'm afraid great sorrow will come upon this kingdom, and it will be vulnerable to outside threats. There will be those who will seek to take advantage of Ram's absence. I have no doubt that from wherever we are, he will protect the kingdom. But I must also do my part. I will depend greatly on the four of you to help me fulfill my responsibilities here. She fell quiet. Then we are to stay here, Mata, without you? I asked questioningly. I had assumed that we would return to Mithila. She nodded. Urmila will be here. You must help care for her, and you must maintain my presence here the best you can. How long will you be away, Mata? Usha ventured to ask in a shaky voice. Mata didn't answer right away, but then replied in a quiet voice, looking away from us. 14 years. 14 years, Mata? I exclaimed in dismay. How will we possibly survive that long without you? You won't be without me, Meenakshi. You will have to learn to see beyond my physical presence. It is easy to serve me when I am here with you, but now you must learn to serve when my physical presence is no longer here. I don't understand, I said in trembling voice. A faint smile crossed her lips as she replied, You will, one day. When do you leave, Mata? Soma asked in a steady tone. Tomorrow morning. Then I must go get ready. She made a motion to leave, but Mata put her hand on her arm and shook her head. Soma, this time you cannot accompany me. I need you here more than I will need you in the forest. You must help maintain my presence in this household. I need all of you here. You can serve much better by maintaining my presence and trying to uplift the spirit among all the people here who will soon be thrown into a state of disarray. Must it be so soon, Mata? I asked in concentration. There is no time for us to prepare. There is nothing to prepare, Meenakshi. Now I will share with you what must be done. Come with me. She led us to an open hallway outside of her room where she had constructed a small shrine. A large bowl was placed beside the shrine. Closing her eyes and uttering some words, Mata placed her hand over the bowl. It seemed that flames shot out of her open palm and into the bowl. She spoke in a very serious and steady voice. I have put my energy into this flame. Watch over it. Don't let it diminish while I am gone. Your prayers and care for it will ensure that it does not go out. This flame will form a protective shield for the palace. But you must care for it and guard it as you would care for me. No ghee is needed, only mantras, day and night. She recited the mantra she wanted us to chant. I will be in this fire, and when the time is right, I will draw it back into my being, and it will self extinguish. Then you will know the work that Ram and I are setting out to accomplish is complete, and our return will be imminent. Through this flame, I will be able to spread my love through this kingdom, and you will be able to send your love and prayers to me. For it is this love that will protect us all. None of us spoke. By now, it had sunk in that Mata was leaving us. I don't think any of us, except perhaps Soma, understood what she was saying, but we did understand that she was giving us certain instructions that we must follow. Usha continued, Care well for Sister Urmila. She will go into deep meditation to help Lakshman with the task he will have. Stay by her side all the times. Soma, you must be a vehicle for my love to sustain Kausalyama, Ram's mother, who will undergo great suffering in his absence. Serve her as you would serve me. Soma nodded. Rohana, bring my love and peace of mind to Sumitrama, Lakshman's mother. She is spiritually advanced and will rely much on Mahadev. Assist her with her pujas. Then Mata turned to me. As she looked at me thoughtfully, I asked, Mata, How can I serve you while you are gone? My voice was cracking. She replied slowly, Minakshi, I will need you to look after Kaikima. A look of horror crossed my face, but I didn't utter a word. She will need the most care, for she will be disdained and abandoned by all. When she returns to her senses, she will be unforgiving of herself. Ram loves her a great deal, and we will want to help restore her sense of dignity and self worth. Mata, after what she had done, she is the cause of all this sorrow. Mata shook her head. It only appears that way. She is but a vehicle for our departure. And yes, her mental weakness allowed her to be used in this way, which is why we must not abandon her. She looked from one of us to another. There is a greater plan that we are fulfilling. Behind every misfortune is a hidden blessing. This journey through the jungles is necessary. Hermitages are being attacked and destroyed. Without these centers of learning, the sacred Vedas will not be preserved from the coming ages. A new civilization is yearning to be born. We must all do our part in helping with that birth. She told us we must all get rest as the day of departure was but a few hours away. I could not sleep at all that night. I lay in bed hearing again and again the words of Mata had spoken to me. Behind every misfortune is a hidden blessing. She had told me this earlier in Mithila, adding that one only needs to search for it. It is the attitude, Meenakshi, with which one encounters life that determines whether one can turn a misfortune into a blessing. But I could not find any hidden blessing in what was about to befall us. Later, I heard that the Maharaja had been up all night pleading with Sri Ram not to leave. When Sri Ram explained again and again that he had no choice but to fulfill his dharma, the Maharaja then pleaded with Sita not to leave with him. Maharani Kausalya asked what they would say to Janak Baba when he learned that his daughter had gone into exile. Sita responded calmly that she had already asked for and received his blessings. He has come? Asked Maharani Kausalya in disbelief. Sita had shaken her head and replied, his physical presence is not required for me to communicate with him. I would never take such a step without his blessing. There was nothing we servants from Mithila could say if Janak Baba had given his blessing. We had to assume it was for the greater good. Dawn came too quickly. Everyone gathered in the courtyard to see them off. Sri Ram, his brother Lakshman, and Mata Sita were all dressed in aesthetic clothing. Instead of rain, sorrow drenched the ground, and the earth seemed to cry out. We were all heavy with pain, but Mata looked calm and radiant, as did Sri Ram. The four of us servants stood off to the side as the three ascetics said their goodbyes to the family. I don't think we would have a chance to speak with Mata, but she stepped aside and came to us, taking our hands one by one. You have all served me well, she said quietly, and I know you will continue to do so. My love will always be with you. The thought came into my mind that I would not see her again, as I was aging and not in the best of health. 14 years seemed an eternity to me. Mata looked at me, and I heard her voice inside say, I will see you again, Meenakshi. I promise you that. Then, with a parting glance, she turned and walked away. Many of the people began to follow them. Usha and I started to go as well, but Soma placed her hand on our shoulders and held us back, shaking her head. Mata would not want this, she said. We must get back to our duties and continue as before. Without Mata? I said mournfully. No, with Mata, she replied firmly. Let us not forget her words to us. We must maintain her presence, which means we must care for her room, her clothing, her jewels, everything, especially the fire. Let us go now to recite the mantra she taught us. We must believe she is still here. And the next part is Death in Ayodhya. It took some time to settle into the new reality. Soma was the only one who had the presence of mind to instruct us on our activity. She divided the time that each of us was to spend caring for the sacred fire. She decided who would prepare Mata's clothing and ornaments for the day, who was to clean her room, who was to place the flowers and which flowers to use, who was to help with the pujas that Mata performed each day. In this way, we managed to keep Mata's presence with us, but we were also mindful to carry out the new duties that she had assigned us. Suma brought great comfort to Kausalya Ma, and I sought to do the same to Kaikeyi Ma. That was perhaps the most difficult endeavor of my life because I could not deny that I harbored great resentment towards her, and it took many weeks before the waters of compassion began to flow in me. A long time loyal servant had been exiled for having twisted the Maharani's mind, and none of the other servants of the household would go near her. The Maharaja did not recover from his illness, and the other two Maharanis were too absorbed with his health to take any notice of Maharani Kaikeyi, and so it was left to me to take care of her meals. I would not have offered to serve in this capacity had not Mata requested this of me. Each morning I knocked on her locked door, called out, and left the food. I would return hours later to find it untouched. I would do the same each evening. This went on for days until one morning, when I went to her room to collect the morning meal, I found the tray was gone. It was the same for the next few days. Then one day, when I knocked and put down the tray, I noticed that the door was unlocked and slightly ajar. I pushed it open and cautiously entered the darkened room. I looked around. The room was in completely disarray, as was the Maharani. At that moment, I forgot all of her dark acts and for the first time felt compassion for her. Although I kept my distance, as I feared to come too close, I kept my eyes lower to as Soma had instructed me to do. The Maharani motioned me to approach, crinkling her eyes as if she didn't recognize me. She asked, "Is it you who has been bringing me the food each day?" I nodded. "Who are you? Are you a new servant?" I didn't know how to answer. I was still new to Ayodhya, but I could not consider myself a new servant. Suddenly she realized who I was. "You are one of the servants who came with Sita from Mithila, aren't you?" I nodded. "Then why have you taken care for my meals? Don't you know what I have done? Don't you know I am the reason that you are bereft of your Rani?" Her voice was rasping, harsh, and growing louder. I drew back as fear overtook me. "Maharani, is it Rajkumari Sita's instructions that I am following?" I replied in a hoarse whisper. She looked shocked, then breaking into tears, she shouted, "Leave me." I don't know how I gained the courage to ask if I could be of service, but the words just came out of my mouth. "Maharani, please let me clean your room and help you with the bath and to dress." She was completely unkept, and the room had a terrible odor as a result of being closed up. When she shouted, "Leave me," again, I quickly retreated. My nerves had been undone by what I had just experienced. Shaken, I hastened to Mata's sacred flame. "I'm trying, Mata," I whispered to her. "I'm doing my best, but she is unreachable." Tears had formed in my eyes, and I wiped them. Just then I heard Soma's quiet voice. "You are fulfilling Mata's wishes. She is vile, filled with venom," I said to Soma, wiping my tears. "I don't understand why Mata wanted me to serve her. Just for that reason. Yes, there is venom in her, no doubt, but Mata wanted us to free her of that venom, and only love can do that." She added, "Her servant has been banished, and nobody else in the palace will go near her. She will starve if someone doesn't care for her." I'm happy to do it, Meenakshi. I can take this burden from you. I shook my head. Never have I failed to take up a task Mata has given to me. If I fail now, how will I face her, Soma? But if you could have seen her, she looks like a mad woman with her hair unkept, unwashed, and her clothing half undone. And the room has such a stench. She won't let me clean it. I don't know what to do. As I described the scene, a look of compassion came over Soma's face. Poor woman, she murmured. She had truly lost her mind. I don't blame her. I'm sure her guilt is overwhelming. But you must have patience and persistence, Meenakshi. Isn't that what Mata would say? I nodded. Soma placed her hand on my arm. Meenakshi, you are trembling. Fear has overtaken you. Never before have I felt such fear, Soma, not even when I was drowning in the river. I was ready to let go of my life then. But this feeling is something I have not known before. There is darkness in that room, a darkness that frightens me. There is darkness that runs through this palace now, a darkness because of what was done. But we all must resist that. She paused and then continued. That last night, after you and the others had left Mata, I stayed with her a little longer so she could give me instructions. Before I left, I asked her if she had fear of what lay ahead. Do you know what she told me? I shook my head. These are her words. I will never forget them. Soma, this human body will know fear and deprivation, but it will also know strength and conviction and courage, and it will overcome all the obstacles and faces. It is time for me to put to use all the knowledge I have gained from Pitaji and the sages who have blessed me. These words quieted my trembling. Then Soma added, we also have been blessed by Janak Baba. Don't you remember that last blessing he gave us? That alone is enough to keep us safe. There is nothing for us to fear here. And so I kept bringing the food. If the door was locked, I would leave the food outside the door, and if it was slightly ajar, I would enter and leave it by her table. The days passed. One day I entered and she spoke to me. You may clean the room now. I looked up at her and saw that her senses seemed to have returned. I could not deny that I felt great timidity in her presence. May I help you with a bath, Maharani? I asked. She nodded, and so my service to her began. Although few words were ever spoken between us, some months later a new servant arrived at the palace who was assigned to care for Maharani Kaikeyi, and I was relieved of this burden. Soma came to tell me the news. I'm no longer needed there, I asked with some hesitation in my voice. Soma nodded. I thought you would be glad, but you seem sorry. Have you become fond of her? I shook my head. But then I have failed Mata. It was she who gave me this assignment. Aside, Mata never asked us to do more than we can manage. I suspect it was Mata herself who arranged for the new servant so you would be relieved of this responsibility. How could she have? She's far from here. Minakshi, she is never far. I have told you that so many times. She is aware, so aware of everything that takes place. I have seen that over and over. Maharaja Dasharatha died. Bharat, the brother of Sri Ram and son of Maharani Kaikeyi, distraught over events, left for the jungle to inform Sri Ram, Lakshman, and Sita. He went to plead with them to return. Everyone thought he would be successful. Perhaps they will return now, I said to Soma. Maharani Kaikeyi seems to regret her actions and will welcome them. Soma shook her head. They cannot return. Their work is only just beginning. I held on to hope, but when Bharat returned alone from the forest, sadness settled over the palace again. The only smiling face was that of Soma. How can you smile, Soma, when he did not succeed in bringing them back? I asked her. But he did. she exclaimed. Do you not remember Mata saying that Sri Ram would find a way to instill his presence in this kingdom to protect against the forest that would seek to weaken Ayodhya? That is what he has done. He has sent his sandals to sit on the throne. His presence is here, just as is Mata's. Do you not feel it, Meenakshi? It is a great blessing for Ayodhya. I looked at her gloomily. I tried to feel Mata's presence as I mumbled the mantra she had taught us before the sacred fire, but I could not say that I felt anything. I felt only absence, the absence of her laughter, her care, her love. It was difficult for Usha and Rohana as well. The meaning seemed to have been sucked from our lives, although we went through the routine of taking out Mata's clothing and ornaments each morning, arranging new flowers for her for the puja, putting away her clothing and ornaments at night, speaking speaking to her all the while. We would tell her things that happened in the palace that day, report news of the Maharanis, the brothers, and Urmila. If there was no news to report, we would share our thoughts and dream up stories. Soma seemed the only one to receive messages from Mata, and every now and then she would report the events that were taking place in the forest so far away. How do you know this? I once asked her. Don't you remember that Mata said Agni Dev, the fire deity, would carry her messages to us? He's doing just that. The flame is a sacred gift from Mata. Distance is of no concern. She is sending messages to all of us, but you haven't learned to quiet your mind and listen, Meenakshi. She was right. I received no messages. We didn't know whether Soma was making up the stories or whether by some miraculous event she was receiving news directly from Mata. It didn't matter. Rohana, Usha, and I eagerly took in these stories of Mata's travels. We wanted to believe them. One day, about 3 years after Mata's departure, I found Rohana seated by the sacred fire in tears. She had received news from Mithila that her sister was very ill and suddenly she missed home terribly. I tried to console her, but to no avail. What could we do? We were not in charge of our own fate. She could not decide on her own to return to Mithila. Soma arrived just as I was explaining this to her. When she took stock of the situation, she offered to speak with Maharani Kausalya. And so it was arranged that Rohana would return to Mithila. We had become like a family, sisters in a foreign land, and her departure left another hole in our small circle. I dare not admit that I also longed to return. So many times at night I envisioned being back at the palace, but I realized that with Mata's absence and Janak Baba in retreat, it would not be the same. We could not recreate the past. It was gone, yet I longed for those days. 2 years later, Usha was the next to leave. She left us not for the calm and joy of Mithila, but for the peace of the celestial realms. She took sick and died very suddenly. And then it was just Soma and I who were left to keep alive the sacred fire and Mata's presence. It was not long after that my health began to go. My eyesight was failing, but I dared not to tell anyone, not even Soma. I didn't want to burden her with additional care, and I was still able to manage. One morning, when I awoke before dawn to recite the mantra by the sacred fire, I tripped as I was leaving my room and had a bad fall. It was a struggle to get to the fire, but I managed. I found Soma there. She had arrived before me. I looked at her in surprise. The mornings were my time. Her watch was sunset and during the night. You are here? I asked. I sensed that you were not well, and so I came, she replied. We both stood there reciting the mantra, and then I turned to go back to my room. Let me help you, she said. Grateful for the assistance, I put my hand on her arm. She led me back to the room and told me to stay there the whole day and rest. She would take over my duties. Despite my protestations, she insisted on bringing my meals and checking on me throughout the day. That evening, she came to sit with me. You are losing your eyesight, aren't you, Meenakshi? I nodded. And you didn't tell me. How long has it been? Many months, I replied in a cracking voice. But it seems to be getting worse now. I don't want to burden you, Soma, but now I am frightened. What will become of me? What use will this household have for an aged, blind, and cursed servant from Mithila? Surely I will be turned away. Do not speak of the curse, she replied sharply. Didn't Mata once tell you that you are neither aged nor cursed? Then, in a gentler voice, she added, do you not yet realize that the curse has been your greatest blessing? I looked at her. Those were almost the same words Mata once spoke to me. You sound like Mata, I said. I will find a solution, she replied. Mata always told us there is a solution to every problem, and so there must be a solution to this. Several days later, Soma came up with a medicinal liquid and dropped it into my eyes. Every few hours, we must apply this, she instructed. Who gave you this treatment? I asked suspiciously. Mata, she replied. Mata? She nodded. She came to me in a dream and told me where to find this plant. I had to look far and wide for it. She instructed me what to do and said, in a few weeks, your eyes will grow stronger. I have told the other servants that you are ill and need a week to recover. We will see how you are then. But the fire, Soma, who will assist you? I don't need any assistance. And the truth is that the fire doesn't really need our mantras. Mata did that for us so we could feel our connection to her. Just as the flame manifested through Mata's will, so it will sustain itself through her until she returns. But we must continue with the mantra because those were her instructions, and the minute we part from her words, I fear some ill will befall this kingdom. In a week's time, my eyesight was noticeably improved, enough for me to return to most of my normal duties. Several weeks later, my eyesight, if not fully recovered, was good enough for me to perform all my functions. It was around that time that Soma approached me and told me that she wanted to take me some place just before dawn. She would not tell me where. Why this big secret? A surprise, something that will bring joy to your heart. I awoke earlier than usual, recited the mantra before the sacred fire, and was ready when she came to my room. The two of us quietly left the palace. I followed as she led me to a Sarayu river, where we walked along its banks. I could hear the quiet sound of women's voices chanting. What is that? I whispered. She smiled. That is what I wanted to show you. Do you remember that spot? She pointed in the direction where the sound was coming from. And through the early rays of dawn, I recognized that we were in the vicinity where Mata had taken us to meet the river goddess when we first arrived in Ayodhya. I nodded. That is where Mata played with the river Devi. Now, look and listen, she said. In that same spot, the women of Ayodhya are praying for Mata. I have seen them come here for years just before dawn. At first, it was one woman. She came alone and would chant and sing to the river Devi, beseeching her protection for the Rani from Mithila, who had gone with their Raja Ram into exile. Then, over time, a few more came, and now there are dozen there, all praying for the protection of a Mata. It moves me so to see their care for her, a foreign Rani they hardly know. Soma, you are right. My heart is bursting at this display of love for her. No greater gift could they give us. One day, when she returns, she will thank those women. But Soma, isn't it odd that they are praying at the very place where Mata entered the waters? Soma smiled. Not at all. Mata was not just playing that day. She was sanctifying the place so that this could occur. I believe she had foresight and wanted to create a place where their prayers could reach her and where she could reach them and bless the women of Ayodhya. Should we go to them? She shook her head. We are from the palace. Let their prayers be undisturbed. We do not know if the palace would approve of women being out so early on their own. We are only let through the gates because we are the servants from Mithila. It gladdened my heart to think of these women singing by the river, and often at night when I felt tired, lonely, or sad, the memory of their song lightened my spirit. 7 years had passed since Mata's departure, and my body was becoming more and more frail. Privately, I did not think I could survive another 7 years until Mata's return. But when my mind thought this, I would recall her last words when she said that she would see me again. Perhaps I imagined it. I had not heard speak those words out loud. I had merely heard them in my mind. One day, I shared this concern with Soma. You did not imagine that, Meenakshi. Because I heard those words as well. I heard her say that she would see you again, and so it must be. There is nothing that can change that. You heard her speak to me in my mind? I asked, astonished. Suma looked away, and I didn't know whether she was saying that to comfort me or whether she really heard those words. Go to the river, Meenakshi. Go to that spot where Mata took us. You will find your answer there. It was several days before I could get away, but finally I managed to go alone one morning and stand at the very spot where we servants had accompanied Mata, where the women of Ayodhya now came in the early morning to sing and pray for Mata. The spot that was now sanctified. I slipped off my sandals and for the first time entered the river. If only I could bring back those days in Mithila. I thought to myself, those days when we were so carefree, suddenly the burden of all the years of absence came over me and I could not restrain the tears. Sinking down onto my knees, I let the water swirl around me. It was past dawn and the women were now gone. I was alone in the water and could wash my face with my tears. I quietly cried, Mata, I am trying to wait for you, but my body will not. I will not last until your return. I am so sorry, Mata, that I will not be here to welcome you. As I spoke these words, I heard a voice quiet as a gentle breeze brushing over me, almost inaudible. Did I not promise that you will see me again? I could not tell if the voice was coming from inside me or from the external world, but something made me turn around, and there I saw her standing at the edge of the river. I was speechless. My tears ceased, and a quiet joy entered my heart. Then welcome me home now, Meenakshi, she said in a gentle voice. Mata, you have come back. With a faint smile, she said, you will catch a chill, Meenakshi, if you stay in the water like that. Just then I noticed my body was trembling from the cold. She walked a few steps into the river and helped me rise. Then she took off her shawl and wrapped it around me. I wanted to express my love for her, tell her that I would serve her throughout eternity, but the words would not come. No sound emerged. She nodded as if receiving my love and added, you do not need to see this body to know I am with you, not just for this life, Meenakshi, but for all time. Then, with a broader smile, she turned and walked into a small gathering of trees. I tried to follow, but stumbled and couldn't get to her. A few minutes later, I made my way over to the trees, but she was nowhere in sight. I stood for a few minutes in awe, perplexed by what had just happened. Then slowly I returned to the palace in a daze. When Soma saw me, she exclaimed, Meenakshi, how did you get Mata's shawl? Mata wrapped it around me when she saw how wet I was from the river. I replied in a stunned voice. The water was washing over me. She said I would catch a chill. She took it off from her shoulders and wrapped it around me herself. Come with me. Soma took me by the hand and led me to Mata's room. This is the very shawl I laid out for her today. It is missing. All the other clothing is here. Are you sure you did not come to the room and borrow it? Soma, would I ever do that? I exclaimed, horrified that she would suggest such a thing. But those are the very clothes I saw her in. Look, Soma, the hem of her clothing is wet. She was standing by the edge of the river. How did it get wet if her clothing was here in the room? And if you laid out this shawl, how did Mata have it? I don't understand. Soma nodded, a smile creeping across her face. She replied quietly, now I understand. Mata wanted you to know that your experience was real. You really saw her. She came to bless you. This is her sign to you. The experience brought such peace and comfort to my heart. The weeks passed. One day I was too weak and tired to rise from my bed. Soma came to see me. She seemed to know what was in store. I hope all your desires have been put to rest. I nodded and whispered faintly, my only hope is that in the future I can continue to serve her. I drifted off to sleep. When I awoke, I found Soma still sitting by my side. I had the most beautiful dream, Soma. We were back in Mithila, you and I with Mata in the forest. Do you remember the forest? I asked in a faint voice. She nodded. How I wish we could be back in Mithila for her. Do not think of Mithila Meenakshi. You are in Ayodhya now, and here is where we have to serve Mata, here in Ayodhya. But I never felt at home in Ayodhya. You will, Meenakshi, you will, and you will be here. My voice trailed off. I no longer had the energy to speak. Soma was quiet for a few minutes and then replied, I will be here. I gazed at Soma, too weak to speak. She had been such a dear friend, more than a friend really. In her presence, I felt close to Mata, as if she was reaching me through Soma. Why did she come? I gathered the strength to ask. That morning by the river. Soma shook her head slightly as she looked out into the distance. It was out of love. That is who she is, love itself, and that love extends to all, to every creature. She makes no distinctions because we are all her children. Then turning to me, she said softly, the purpose of Mata's birth is to awaken that love, the love that permeates the celestial worlds, to awaken that love on earth. And this is what she's doing every moment of her life. I don't understand. I knew nothing of the celestial worlds, but then I remembered Mata's word to me as she was departing Ayodhya. You will see me again, she has said. And so now I realized Mata had come because she had given her word. A great sigh passed through my lips as if all my burdens of this life were being lifted. I didn't have to wait for Mata anymore. Soma would be here to receive her. I'd seen over the last few years how Soma had gained a respected place in the household. All the servants now came to her for advice and guidance. Even the Maharanis depended on her. She would not be alone, unlike me, who had never integrated into the household. She was a part of Ayodhya now. I alone had maintained my Vitehi identity, but still, the thought of leaving her was difficult. A deep bond of affection had grown between us. Soma, you will wait for Mata. My faint voice trailed off. Meenakshi, she said gently, gazing into my eyes. I have never been waiting because Mata has never left me. I smiled. Soma was unlike the rest of us. She was a mystery, one I could never fathom. But her words gave me comfort, and they were the last words I heard before my eyes closed to the world. One life falls away and leaves its imprint in the sand, giving rise to another life, taking along all the memories which do not die, which are not washed away. They simply sink to the bottom of the mind sea and rest there, folded in the many layers of mental sediment until called forth to help the soul on its journey toward full awakening. Thank you, friends. That's the part one story. That there ends Meenakshi's story, and the part two will be back tomorrow. Yes, if anybody wants to share anything, please go ahead and share.
Hello, Madhu.
Yes, yes, Meena.
Narration was so good. I was like, I'm feeling I want to be one of the Soma or Meenakshi in those days and serve Mata.
Mm,
It's so
yeah,
nice to see what all happening. And
yeah,
when you wrote in between those, I was noting down few lines like, now I'm remembering my Master Ram. As Master Ram always used to say, when there is a problem, there is always a solution for it.
yeah.
So those all are resonating. Whatever we do in our meditation classes and all, when you're reading those, it's like,
Mm,
oh, I know this, we heard this, we need to implement this. It's like that. And
wow, wow.
I want to ask a question.
Yes, please.
You read something like celestial realms, right? What
Realms,
is,
yeah.
yeah, what is meant by that?
It means, like we have a physical world here. There is also the world in the other dimensions. So that is called celestial realms.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you will get to know about it in the coming stories. They will be
Okay.
pressing more on these celestial worlds. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's the place where the gods and goddesses and the higher masters live.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's called celestial realms. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else, friends?
Beautiful session, Madhu. This is Swapna from Austin, Texas.
Yes, yes, Swapna. Yeah.
Lovely. I mean, I could feel so much energies. Actually, I was a little bit distracted or kind of disoriented today
Mm,
morning. I didn't know why. So I
mm,
felt there was a lot of energies, and it was actually after reading Untold Story of Sita that
mm,
the grounding techniques, really, I understood them, like why we do that and what is the power of Mother Earth. And I went and I stood in the backyard on the grass barefoot for
mm,
some time, requesting Mother Earth to absorb any excess energies. And this always
mm.
happens that in less than 1 or 2 minutes, I feel better.
Wow.
So that is one thing I wanted to share. My head was heavy because we've been doing a lot of inner journey and other
Mm,
meditations.
mm. Yeah.
So I woke up and again slept today, and because I woke up late, I was kind of having very heavy headedness. And
Mm.
always it instantly vanishes the moment I go and say, please absorb the excess energies. And if I go and hug a tree, and all
Yes.
this, though we knew these techniques, it was only after reading this book that I could connect more to nature. I was
Mm.
mentioning this that Dina Mariam madam also the other
Yes.
day on
Yes.
Svadhyay.
Mm,
It
mm,
was absolutely wonderful. And since that, when I was reading the book, I was
mm,
very emotional. And
mm,
also, I always could relate so well with Soma. I
mm.
admire her. She is my most favorite character, honestly,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of her strength and her what do you call, the trust and surrender to Sitama. Uh,
Mm, mm.
Everybody else is like shattered,
Yeah.
and even though she has a lot of affection, she maintains that calmness and that courage, that's a trust she has in Sita Ma that I
Mm.
really admire. Nothing is
Yeah.
going to happen to her. She's going to take care of it. I wish
Yeah.
we all are like Soma,
Very much
wherein we are like
balanced.
yeah, we come across so many challenges, but still we trust ourselves and the higher power and remain calm. I always felt that she is the most admirable character.
Exactly. Yes, very true. Very true, Sapna.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful, Madhu, beautiful energies. I'm so glad I could connect. I couldn't join for meditation, but I
Yes.
really wanted to, this is my most favorite book. I'm not good at reading books and all, I'm lazy. But
Yeah.
this book is one thing that, I finished with so much interest.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you so much. And
Thank you, Sapna.
your voice added so much energy, Madhu. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sapna.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah. Yes, Mina. Anybody else, friends?
Yeah, Madhu, we will be like Meenakshi. Like, if someone has done anything to us, we will, how can I serve her? She has done so much to me. First,
Right.
that thought comes up immediately into our minds. But it was so nice that Mata has said that you should be serving them. and you can, with only with compassion only, you'll achieve anything. It's wonderful, actually. That's true. If we fight with them back and we crib and cry, nothing we can achieve. But with compassion, yes, we can win over, right? It's very, very nice.
Very true. Yeah. Thank you, Meena, for sharing. Yes. Sylvie, how was it for you? I know it's a story from Indian mythology. So you have any words to say, Sylvie?
Hello.
Hey, Sylvie.
Yeah, so yeah, honestly, I haven't been hearing the stories before, so the days
Mm,
before, so I was kind of lost, but I just wanted to hear like the storytelling is what really I
mm,
really love, like hearing the cadence of the voice and all the descriptions. And I've
mm,
also read a lot of books of your library, so they are similar.
yes, yes.
And yes,
You
yes,
you're having the 1,000 seeds of joy,
yeah,
isn't it?
I know, I still have it. Yes. Yes, it was, yeah, it was
Wow.
similar. It reminded me of that also. Yes,
Wow. Wow.
it was very
Yes.
nice to hear it, and the descriptions made me feel like I was there. Like,
Wow.
yeah. So
That's
thank you,
great.
Madhu. I
Thank you.
love your voice, and that you can held up your tone of voice for that whole time is impressive.
Thank you. Thank you, Sylvie. Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, friends? All right.
Uh,
So, yes, Uday. Yes,
yeah,
please.
hello.
Yes, ma.
As usual, it's very wonderful. And today, uh, during the time of the struggles, how they stood up to their, how they have their patience and how they hold their responsibilities.
Mm,
With the word of Mata Sita, they said Mata Sita said to hold their responsibility.
yes.
How Mata Sita told to Soma and all the four
Yeah.
servants.
Mm,
So, and at most difficulties, they never lost their confidence, and they there is so much we can learn from Soma.
that's true. That's true.
So, and in each and every episode, there is in each and every chapter,
Chapter.
we can,
Mm,
in each and every chapter, we can learn one thing importantly, that meditation, meditation, meditation. Meditation is a very
that's,
thing. Yes, meditation
yes.
is a very important thing. They are communicating through
That's
meditation. They're communicating.
very, very true point you have said, Uday. In many of the books, I mean, in Ramayana or any books, they didn't press too much on meditation. But this is the first book I'm reading, and there's so much of emphasis on meditation. All the starting with Janak Baba till Soma, Mata Sita, everybody they do meditation. So it's again giving us a like message that we all should opt meditation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously.
Yes.
And this is a story we don't know. Everyone don't know. Everyone don't know.
Mm, yeah. True.
Thank
Great.
you, thank you,
Thank you, Ma.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yes. All right, friends. So we can call it for today. And tomorrow morning we have Master Yana's session at 6 a.m. Germany time and 9:30 a.m. India time with the same Zoom link. So she's a wonderful master from Germany. So attend her session and enjoy her session. And again at 6 p.m. Germany time or 9:30 p.m. India time, we will meet for a meditation and the next chapter, next part of what happens to Meenakshi later. Yeah. So the next chapter, Ram is showing me to tell it out. So the next, which is called part 2, it's called Rebirth in Ancient Ayodhya. So that's the next chapter's name. So till we see each other tomorrow, have a lovely day, a lovely night, and see you all tomorrow. Namaste.